Just a quick reminder that if you want to support Concepts and Legends, please remember to like and subscribe. And you can also show your support by using our TCG affiliate link for any and all of your Magic needs by using the link you see here or below in the description. Any and all help is greatly appreciated and helps us bring you more videos like the one that is starting right now. Today's guest, Anson Maddocks, is another one of the original 25 artists of Magic the Gathering. It's always a thrill to get a chance to talk about the early days of MTG, but I could have never anticipated the interview that in Ancient Vampire would be called Tren Copa. Roughly translated, epic as hell. But just how Tren Copa is it? There's only one way to find out.
How are you doing?
Hey, nice background.
Yeah, right. I'm doing an interview with the guy who did it. Just mum's the word. Yeah, no, I'm glad it looks okay in the background because I couldn't find a super high res, and I'm like, I blew it up myself, and I was like, okay, it looks good. I mean, I was actually staring at it, and when it's behind you for a good 10 minutes, it starts to move, it undulates a little bit, and then it's like I'd imagined that thing would have been so bad to see this like on a psychedelic, like.
Well, you know what's directly behind you, right? Like right behind your head.
A fetus?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
So
No,
that's a good sensor right there.
I am the fetus. You see, the fetus is all grown up and interviewed. Well, I wanted to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Absolutely.
So I guess what we can do is we'll sort of get the perfunctory, how you got involved with Wizards of the Coast kind of thing out of the way in the beginning, because it's been said before. But can you tell us basically your version of how you got involved with Magic?
Sure. Well, I was going to Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle, and another student was working for Wizards of the Coast when it was still a small company in I think Kent, Washington, in Peter Atkinson's basement, the CEO of Wizards of the Coast.
Wow.
They had a game called Talislanta, which was a role-playing game, sort of D&D style, that they needed illustrations for. And through another later Magic artist, Andy Rousseau, I was introduced to Jesper and submitted a demo illustration to see if he'd be interested in hiring me to do some of the illustration work for one of their supplements for this game. He liked it, and so I was working on that sort of thing on that game Talislanta for Wizards of the Coast when Jesper, the art director, told me that there was another game that they were considering doing. I don't think they had the working title yet, but he explained the way it would work, that you would have these cards that would have some of their own rules on it that would affect the overall game while you're playing. It sounded really interesting, and he was really excited about it. But my main interest was, okay, that's a bunch of small color portfolio pieces at the very least. So
right.
That was my introduction to Magic. And I ended up...
I'm sorry. No, go on.
I was just going to say that the reason I ended up doing 10% of that first edition was because I was convinced that at least Jesper was convinced that it was going to be a hit. And I'm affected easily by other people's enthusiasm. So,
which is not a bad thing.
No, and especially in this case.
Yeah, it was very prescient.
Yeah, I ended up picking up a lot of work that got dropped by other artists who weren't as convinced that it was going to be a big deal. There was also the payment was sort of at one point cut in half. So you would get half cash and half stock. That was a gamble, but it was something that made a lot of the artists drop out.
Ooh, talk about ouch. Like mistake.
What what's funny is that when Jesper would give us the, the working titles to do the illustrations from, he would read us off a bunch of possibilities that we had to choose from. And so I would jot them down while I was talking to him on the phone. And I would pick out of those which ones I thought sounded interesting. So I still have some pages of like in sketchbooks where I wrote down all those titles, and a bunch of them, well, not a bunch, a couple of them at least were ones that ended up later being like a Power 9,
Which one
which
specifically?
I never did any. What was it? I don't even know if is Ancestral Recall a powerful card?
It is a powerful card. I don't know if it's Power 9, but I'm not. I'm a 2019 joiner of Magic. I joined later in life, and I was just blown out by the artwork. And when I started playing, I'm like, is there like gonna be somebody who interviews everybody? So here I am.
That's very cool.
But yeah,
I think,
Ancestral Recall. What else do you remember? Any other cards that you passed on?
no, actually, since it's not in front of me right now, I like Stone Rain, Lightning Bolt. That was a
Okay.
popular one. Maybe I can get those to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we can toss it in later. It's no problem. So you got enough work then, but in addition to doing your work with Magic, you were doing enough work that you were confident enough to drop out of Cornish, right?
Yeah, it was sort of a decision of, do I continue to take this work on, or do I stay in school? Because it was, I mean, at the time I was able to do a lot of multitasking, do a lot of things at once, but it was getting pretty difficult to do all of it.
Yeah, that's a spinning plate
92
situation.
was one of my biggest years. My most prolific years was like 1992. So much stuff.
Yeah, you're pretty busy, and it's incredible the amount of work that you pumped out, and you have said that you basically were given a very short amount of time to do each of the assignments, right?
Yeah. When I look back on it now, how many things were done in like a month? There's no way I could do that now. I have no idea how I managed that.
Yeah,
Lots of copy.
it's crazy. It's also, I wonder, do you as an artist, is it harder for you when you're pushed into a situation where you have to like haul ass, and then because of it, do you ever get sort of bothered if a piece is not to your liking because of the time frame? Has that happened to you?
Yeah, yeah. And well, I'm also my worst critic, and I get in my own way quite a bit if I have too much time. So sometimes having less time, being forced to pull out, the heavy artillery and just get it done, sometimes that's actually a beneficial thing. Unfortunately, I don't have enough discipline to be able to predict whether that's going to be the case or not.
I hear you on that one. Yeah. I'm very mercurial, and I'd imagine you are too. It very much run on your own time, correct?
Yeah, and it also depends on like how good of an idea you have of what it should look like beforehand, as opposed to trying to play by ear and see if you can make it work on the go.
When you get an idea, which card which one came the quickest? Like one of the cards that you did, as far as from imagining it to putting it out. Which one was one of the easiest ones you had done?
Maybe Disintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
Disintegrate was just sort of okay. Dispersion of particles, just disintegrating figure. So I just did a profile, and I took a sponge and some paint, and I probably got it done in about a half hour.
Wow.
And I was just hoping it didn't look like it was a half hour, but
and so and you're like, that's great. So you guys back then, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think now Wizards is very much like almost like it's a conglomerate almost now. But when you started, it was a bunch of people in a basement, right?
Right. And there was a lot of work to get done, and the art direction was just sort of pick an artist that you think can handle the concept from title to a finished piece. And honestly, it was a lot of fun that way, because the concepts that you came up with were, well, they were yours. And later it became that you get sheets of descriptive text. And I mean, that's an okay way to do it, but it's hard to go from being given complete license with the concept to going to the, somebody else came up with all the ideas and you are translating that into an image to their specifications.
Right. It seems like it probably feels like you might have had your freedoms almost revoked in that sense when it's done that way.
Yeah, it's sort of like getting fired for being a concept person and then, sort of kept around to do the final rendering.
Now, this is a question that somebody wanted me to ask, and I'm going to ask it, even though it's very, very difficult for me to ask it. But I'm going to ask who had the worst gas in those meetings back then, because you were in such a small space, and somebody wanted to know who was known for that, and that if you would name names.
Oh, so you want me to make an enemy right off the bat?
An enemy? Well, I mean, I would freely admit that I have gas. I would be the farter more than likely, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. It was somebody dared me to ask it, and I was like, I got to do this.
I'm hoping I'll get away with this, but I'll say the janitor. But that is the self-given title of the CEO.
Really?
You might know who that is.
I might know.
Look, I don't know if he had the worst gas, but I know that he would accept responsibility for a gassed room.
Good for him. Like that's a stand-up fellow, I say. And thank you for
it. Was a good company to work for.
So, and then speaking of like with your back then, I'd say the way that the royalties were also doled out were completely different too. Who decided in the beginning the way you guys were gonna get paid, and then when did it change, and how was that to handle?
Okay. So you heard me talk about the artists dropping out of the confidence and just giving up on the hopes that it was going to be a big thing. One of the ways that they tried to avoid that was by offering the royalties. And it wasn't something that the artists were like in meetings talking about, how we're going to get these royalties. It was just thrown at us as an incentive. And, when I heard about it, when Jesper was telling me about it, he was pretty excited that he had a lot to do with that. But he was telling me how beneficial it was going to be when the game, took off. I kept that out of my mind because you hear that all the time as an artist when you're doing work for a sort of smaller project. You're used to hearing that kind of thing, and you shouldn't really make that part of your decision because you don't want to end up being disappointed in the end. But the royalties turned out to be a really good thing because of the explosive success of the game. But it also got a lot of people in the company thinking that it was money that was being pulled away from Wizards of the Coast's profit. And honestly, if the way the contract's written, the way royalties work is that money was never actually Wizards of the Coast to begin with. It's not like they were paying it out of their pocketbook. They were receiving the money and had to send it to the artists, but it wasn't the same thing as eating out of their profits because it was decided ahead of time that that's what the artists would get from the sales. When enough people and enough shareholders and the lawyers and other people started, really making it a huge topic, they started talking about how out of proportion it was compared to other industries like the comic book industry, which traditionally hadn't been that great to its artists until artist driven companies like Image
Right.
popped up.
But I
But
mean, even Stan Lee, I mean, to the end of his life, I mean, as successful as he was, he had made like only a few million, and it was rough.
yeah, I couldn't say whether or not that was a good or a bad thing because I know that the more money I made, the less productive I was, really, because it made me lazy.
I
And
see. Yeah. Okay.
I really liked living hand to mouth. It sort of, you had a sense of proportion with the amount of work you were doing and the amount of uh, you know returns you were receiving. It
Right.
was
Because
exciting.
that's okay. So that's probably why you feel like those years were the most productive for yourself, because you were that was the only time in your career that you really had that fire lit underneath you.
Well, honestly, right now with all the requests I'm doing for the fans, our customers are really supportive, and they inspire me to like want to do these little things, these little oddball things. And so right now I actually get up and go out to the studio with a sense of wanting to accomplish as much as I can.
And it seems like, and I was going to, I'll reboot my computer.
Oh, Stanley.
Oh yeah, Stanley, the royalty payments, and just so you're productive at that time. I mean, you were also, I like the fact that you were based off you were based, a character in Vampire Masquerade was based off of you pretty heavily, I'd say. What was the name of that character?
Anson, Prince of
Yes.
Seattle.
It,
I think it was a joke on joke on me.
really? You think so? Because I mean, like, it was kind of cool. I mean, I thought it was really cool, and like, like, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school, but like, and and back in those days, you had that like '90s sort of like leather jacket look going on. It was like a Johnny Depp vibe going on. Maybe they were joking on you, but maybe a little, like, a little jealous, right? I don't know.
There's a lot of Seattle there. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly, like the grunge look. And I
Yeah.
was blown out when you were. I heard in an interview you were like, except the tongue's not actually, long enough, and I was like, oh, he's just used to being silly. And then I saw a picture of you sticking your tongue out, and I was like, wow, he was not being silly. Like, that's crazy.
There aren't any pictures of me sticking my tongue out.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. I do my research. I've seen one, because I either that or I am completely insane, and I, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not that. Uh, haven't hit that point yet. So
Isn't there an app for that where you can
have your tongue rated? I know there's one for feet, for celebrity feet, and yeah, that's a big deal. It's there's a key for every lock, I guess. But not my cup of tea. But so this next,
Brenda
was that?
Brenda's over here going like this.
She's like, yeah, she's like, stick your tongue out. Yep, there we go. Yep, yeah. That's I mean, that's cool. That's like, you could rap with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a terrier, and his does, like, he does that, like,
What?
that's
Really?
yeah, because that's what they're ratting dogs, so their tongues are so long, because the reason why is because they can actually, like grab onto rats they were trying to get. It's a little bit of terrier
Wait, is
trivia
this
for
a
you.
real thing?
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. They're hunt. They're the the sub breed.
Species
They're no, yeah, they're dogs. They're just little, like, terrier, the little Yorkies.
with prehensile tongues?
They have really long tongues that can just, like, yeah. I mean, you don't want to know what a dolphin has prehensile. I'll
I
tell you
guess
that
I have
much.
a new mascot.
So, the next group of questions, I know it's a tough subject to discuss, but it's one that I'm very curious about, and I think a lot of people are. But you had a lot of artwork stolen from you in the beginning of your career, and a lot of these pieces were the original like set
Yeah.
pieces that you did. Um,
Yeah.
how did that happen? What was the reason? I mean, how did the person, and are you able to say who the person is? Is that something that's off limits?
I think I can say now at this point, since we've gone out of our way to do everything politely. I don't know.
Mhm.
It, it's not something I like to dredge up because it was so long ago, but it comes up. It's put in front of us quite often because people want some sort of a sign off on the authenticity of the piece that they have purchased. If it wasn't for that, it probably wouldn't come up. But to have something stolen and have the police not do anything to get it back, and then to have somebody, you know, I honestly, I feel bad when I tell people that the piece was stolen. I don't, demand that they give it back to me.
Right.
Um, in fact, people that have come forward after we made an offer, we said, look, if you want a certificate of authenticity, what we could do is agree to sell the piece and split the purchase price 50-50. And then at least that way I would feel less like it was
You sort of just being
put
like,
these in the woods.
yeah,
Yeah.
just sort of like, well, tough titty, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but so the person who did this, how were they? Were they somebody that you knew?
It was the mother of a friend that I was having watch my house.
Really?
And uh, I had sealed up a room that had a lot of, important things in it, including a bunch of sealed product. As an artist, I would get, as an artist and a shareholder at the time, I would get a copy of everything that Wizards produced.
Oh my God.
One copy for being an artist that had stuff in the set, and a copy for being a shareholder. So I had all these, a lot of times I would open, one box and then save the other box sealed. So I had a lot of that in there. And I don't really even bring that up when I'm talking about the stolen artwork, because I can't imagine any way to ever be, recouped for the
Mm-mm.
product. There's just no way
No,
to identify it.
I mean, there's Black Lotuses in that. Like,
Yeah,
I
maybe,
mean,
but
maybe, yeah.
there's just, yeah. And I remember at one point when I was trying to fill out the insurance claim, there's no way to find out how much a box of alpha starters would be worth.
Yeah, no, it's
So
not really you could do I guess what you really all you could do is what it was sold for right originally on the market, right? Like, I guess as far as legality goes.
well, I thought maybe replacement cost would be what they would have to go by, sort of like when they're dealing with a car. If your car gets totaled, what would it cost to replace, to get another
Right.
copy of that car from that, in that condition, that date, whatever.
When everything was stolen, had magic blown up? Is that was that already happening, or was this prior to?
Well, yeah, it blew up right away,
Yeah.
but this was, I don't know, 7 years later after that, I think.
Okay,
Um,
so this person who did this, they were doing this with a very full understanding that what they were doing was they were taking not just the cards, but the paintings were already starting to increase in value as well.
right. The reason that I learned about it is because somebody came up to me at an event, and they were excited and they wanted to let me know that they had just purchased the original for Serendib Efreet. And I told them that they were mistaken, that I still had that at home. And they're getting kind of distressed, and they brought over an employee of Card House, who told me that they had purchased all these originals and all this product from this woman.
And you won't, and we can't say her name. I mean, I don't want to press, but I feel like if you're gonna be that big of a scumbag, you know.
Patty Morrison. Is
Mhm.
that her last name? Yeah, Patty Morrison.
Thanks, Patty. Just kidding.
Yeah, thank you. But so I'm sorry, where were we on this?
So
answer?
you'd been told that they had Serendib Efreet, and you're like, no, I
Right.
had it at home.
Right. So and that's what I believed until I got back to my house and checked and found that most of my magic originals were gone and all the magic product was gone.
Too, or was this something separately that
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? God, that's rough.
She says first of all, when I told her about it, I was really distressed at having to tell her, because if she didn't know, this is going to be something that was going to be really difficult for her to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I took her out to dinner and told her while we were having dinner, and she flat out refused to believe me. And yeah, that was tough.
Painful.
Yeah, and I think I was sensitive about it, and honestly, I think I was expecting her to maybe look into it and confirm it and then do something about it. But
right,
she found out, her mother said that, she denied it. Then more recently, her mother admitted to it, and but still it wasn't something that my friend tried to do anything about. So the whole idea in the very beginning was that I wanted to let her know before I went to the police.
Right.
Just because to have your friend go to the police and turn your mother in without telling you first would seem to be kind of a betrayal of, something.
Right. It would almost be the way that you would feel if somebody had a parent that stole something from you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It's rough.
Right.
I mean, and that sucks because you did it. You were trying to, at that point, trying to be a good friend and say, I'm trying to do the right thing here and not blindside you. And then the response was outright denial. And I guess, and then by doing that, they're inferring that you're a liar.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that's not cool. That's not cool at all. And did this person ever come around and realize that they were being they were suffering from cognitive dissonance, or is this just something that they can't come to grips with? I mean, it's not something that
if Brenda's been doing most of the communication on this because I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, that's rough. I see.
But has she come to terms with it, or Brenda?
Yes, I did make an appeal to her directly, and she was very remorseful about what happened, and did everything she could to try and help me get in touch with her mom so that maybe some of this could be resolved once and for all, even after this much time. But she did admit to taking some cards from Anson, but she denied taking any of the artwork, which so that was a bummer.
I got a detailed description of the whole transaction from this card house employee.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and there's not much to say, I would think, about buying the product because it's identical to so many other things.
Yeah, you can't prove that. You can't prove it. There's no way.
Right, but he was talking about the cardboard boxes that had the just layers of originals.
Everything was sealed, right? Everything was serial marked.
The product, yeah.
See, now that could have been something. Well, see, I guess the problem is that all they'd have to do is destroy a container, and then once that main I almost said UPS. What's the barcode name? It's like US.
Oh yeah, UPS. Or no,
Is it
USP?
Yes. Like PTSD. I forget the name of it. I just can't. I'm like barcode. I can't believe it. I'm brain farting so hard
I
right
used
now.
to have to put them on packaging for Magic product when I worked at the office.
So yeah, but that would be easy enough, I think, to sort of like to get away with as far as, you know, kind of covering a trail. But the paintings, that's one other thing. But you know, that also is something that I've read about, that is a really difficult thing for artists in general, is because there really isn't a way, unless like you get the actual painting handed to you physically and it's documented from the artists themselves. There's not really
Right.
a way to prove that it is an original piece, right?
Well, there is a way to prove that the artist has signed off on it, you know, for a sale. I mean,
What's the protocol for that?
it might be a signature. It's provenance, and it's something that I, you know a little bit about. But it's just anything that is like an invoice for you know, for handing the artwork to another owner,
Right.
transferring its ownership. And it's something that is done in the art collecting community, you know, for a long time. And
Yeah,
it's a way of securing your investment, so that
Right.
something like an artist claiming that it's stolen, you know, can't come up and say, hey, that's my piece that was stolen. I mean, I understand why people would, you know, especially people who paid, you know, thousands of dollars for a piece, you know, to run into me saying, well, that piece was stolen, it was reported to the police, yada, yada, yada.
Because my first thought would be, oh my God, that makes me a criminal by you know, by association. Hey, that would be my paranoia. I'm not saying that's what you were accusing, nor am I saying that's how it pans out. But my own personal anxiety would be like, I did, because I mean, I'm pretty sure that on some level, if you've been to a pawn shop, whether we realize it or not, everybody probably has purchased something that was stolen in their life. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right, and the only thing that usually protects the pawn shop to have a ledger that has signatures from the people that they bought the items from, and you know, and their ID number. But I don't know how often people successfully recover stolen items from pawn
Super
shops.
tough. It's super tough. I mean, and but the thing is, because I mean, they were talking about NFTs, you know, lately, the whole thing that is happening with NFTs, the non-fungible tokens and digital art.
Right.
And they're saying that even because, and this is like in regards to like, say, a Rembrandt or a Picasso, you know, the ones that like go for, you know, you guys have things in place where you can sign stuff, and it's as you know, as diligent as you can be. But there's so many ways now that people are getting crafty with faking things, that the most secure way of making a transaction from art is actually just digital only. And that's kind of sad, because, you know, it's like, well, you know, there is something to be said about it, you know, being a painting with paint. That's sort of the whole point of the word, you know, painting. But it's almost it's shocking, really, because you guys were not it almost seemed in this case that the crime was protected more than the people who had the crime committed against them.
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the NFTs evolve.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. And I think too that if this had happened to you with the internet, in the internet age, in the age of Twitter, I don't think it would have gone down so easy for them either, because people would have. Go on.
That's very true. And part of the problem, well, an interesting aspect of this is that Card House, the the store that wrote the check to Patty Morrison, they actually knew that the pieces were more than likely stolen. And when the employee told them that he was in contact with me, he said that they said, "Don't tell him that we knew that it might be stolen."
Oh, geez.
And that was a crummy thing to have to.
That's dollar signs right there. That's people who probably, like that's the worst thing about it. It's like all the, like in the cartoons where they have the dollar signs over their eyes. It's like ching, like people become that sort of like thing where it's just like all they see is, oh, how much money we can make off of this. Can we get away with it? And that's, like scummy, I mean,
Right. The way it should work is that if you find that you are in possession of a piece that they're claiming is stolen, you should be able to go back to where you got it,
yeah, get a
who you bought
refund.
it from, and they should be able to go back to where they bought it, who they bought it from, and
Yeah,
you should be able to get back to the source of the theft.
right.
Um,
It doesn't seem that difficult, does it?
well, it could be. I mean, after enough time passes, maybe somebody died that was in the
Right.
chain. But
Well, that would complicate things.
right.
But
Also, people claiming that they know where the piece came from. Like if somebody claims that I was displaying things at Wizards Gallery, which I never did, then they're saying that they acquired the piece legally.
oh, so people were making up
Which is another,
stories about how they got these pieces sometimes, right?
right. And one of the main reasons why we brought this up, publicly again, was because a lot of people were claiming that things were going on that would be considered international fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And we plan on going to the FBI just to take care of that. If people are, okay, there are claims that that there is a document that I signed giving all of the artwork to Card House. In other words, that I was consigning it with them or something. And that's false. And in fact, when I did approach them about the stolen pieces, they just gave me all the pieces that hadn't sold yet.
Like, oh yeah, because that's not a guilty thing to do, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah, they didn't ask to see the police report. They didn't say, they didn't seem concerned about the money that they paid for them.
Right.
It was just sort of like, here you go.
Oh, yep. Sorry about that. Yeah. Interesting. That's interesting. That seems like, I would say that seems like the act of a guilty person, but that's just me. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. Call me crazy, but well, see, and that sucks too, because you have it makes it's even worse for you being, number one, you're being a victim, being a victim of this unfortunate situation, and then to have, like, I mean, and I can say this because I'm not involved, but I'm just gonna say these like scumbags. No offense to them, the scumbags.
No offense.
No offense, scumbags, but they steal and then they conspire and they make you. I mean, what would be the point of you doing that? Like, were you like what, that you were so hard up for money that you had to fake like a robbery? It makes no sense, and it's I mean, I give them an A for effort, but an F for like the storyline. Like, that sucks out loud.
I mean, cashing in your reputation and your integrity there are other ways to make money.
Right? I mean, like, look, you can make a more honest living on the streets than doing that kind of stuff, like,
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're, like, it's, working for, themselves. I tell you that much. And I will move on from this too, because I know that I feel bad, because I know that it does make you, it makes you uncomfortable to talk about. And I guess what we'll transition to is, what were the pieces that you were able to get back? Which were the ones that were returned?
So the only people that we actually recovered pieces from were those that I'm pretty sure were in the know about the theft. And they had, I think, 7 pieces, and we managed to trade to get 2 of them back in exchange for allowing them to pay for the other 5.
Oh no,
Kind of complicated.
oh God, they kind of that sort of ransomed, like sort
Uh,
of, kind of. I mean, a little bit,
well,
right?
let's just say that the whole transaction was something that I felt like I was lucky to get anything back.
Oh yeah, no,
And
definitely.
Brenda actually did all the negotiating, and I did all. I mean, she would come back to me with what they were offering, and I just kept saying no until they threw out an offer that was like, really, I thought that was the best we could possibly do. So we managed to get back Animate Dead and Llanowar Elves, which are 2 rather iconic pieces
I've heard
of
of them.
mine. I mean, I didn't have a lot of powerful cards in the game, but I had a lot of cards, and 2 of them that were pretty iconic were those 2.
And
So
like Llanowar Elves, the story behind that is fantastic. I don't know if people. I mean, I know you talked about it, but you had invented a whole storyline for
yeah,
the elves and why they looked the way they do. That, and I never realized it, but they indeed are vampiric elves. Is that not right?
okay, yeah, but I think you can understand this. It Anytime an artist is telling you about what was in their mind when they did something,
Uh huh.
uh, that can change and it can always be accurate.
Right, right. Yeah, it's sort of like a dream where you can interpret symbols to mean a one thing
Right.
and shift it along the way. So do you think that has changed for you then since you've said that? Is what is a new narrative?
Well,
And do you have a new narrative? Because I really thought it was awesome. It's a cool story.
there, yeah, it was sort of the strongest element of it was, and if you notice the similarity in the composition between Sengir Vampire and Llanowar Elves, it's kind of easier to imagine this being an intentional thing. But the elves being affected by their systems, uh, combating, uh, being infected by vampirism. Uh, I thought that was fascinating in that you have like these forest creatures that are essentially good and wholesome,
Right.
um, struggling to fight with this infection, and having it affect their behavior and uh, their look and everything. Um,
It's
yeah,
fantastic. I
I
mean,
thought that was interesting.
it could be. I mean, I read it and I was like, that's a good like pitch for a movie. I mean, if you take two already very well established mythological characters and you throw them together, I mean, and you think it's an interesting combination. I feel that that would be that would be something that the current Magic the Gathering game could use. That could literally be the driving plot line of an entire block set. I feel like.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot more ideas that haven't been uh, fleshed out. That the potential is much better than rehashing old ideas.
With your storytelling, or at least your world building abilities, are there any other stories that you had associated? And I know you don't like to talk about this, but I do really love it. Are there any stories that you had with other cards that you have? I know you've refused to tell until now, but I honestly don't feel like you're taking away from anybody else's interpretation by giving your inspiration behind it. I think it really actually just adds to the stew of the mythos of the cards.
Right. Um, but I, I like to weave mystery into the things that I make, and I like to know that people are intrigued by those things and they don't quite know exactly what I had in mind, but when they're trying to figure something out with it, they're creating things in their own head, which to me is an interesting collaboration. And I mean, if you were specific and asked me something specific about a piece, I might give you a little bit, but
Well, see, yeah, there's, I mean, I would ask, but there's so many, like there's so many theories out there. And I don't want to be one of those like conspiracy theorists. And I try to my best to avoid Reddit because it's just unsavory for everybody. But
so I should say that whatever the worst things you can possibly imagine are probably true.
wow, yeah, that's good for you then. Good for you. You've led a full life. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, careful! I can see the fetus back there.
The fetus. Like, well, thank you. How you doing? Wait, hold on. There we go. Hello, Junior. Did you name it?
How do you think walls are made, right?
Well, yeah, no, actually, that's a good point. I mean, it's I tell you what. I mean, everything comes from an egg. What came first, the egg or the wall? That made no sense. Okay. I tried on that one and I failed spectacularly. But speaking of this piece behind me, it was censored, right? Was it censored because of that?
Yeah.
Because of the fetus?
No.
No. Okay. What else am I missing?
Well, this is marginally gross, but
Gross. Bring it.
So let's see. As we're looking at you, your right shoulder, below that, there's that row of teeth.
Yes, I can see that. Yes.
Okay. So where you are now, yeah.
Yeah. And don't worry, there'll be an actual
the other side. The other side. See those teeth?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, below those teeth, there was an esophagus opening that evidently made other people think it was another kind of sphincter. And so Jesper very uncomfortably asked me if I would mind if he censored it. And I said, I mean, I thought about how much he was doing for the artist. Like he was like constantly pulling for us to have more, control and credit and stuff. And so I was like, you know what, as long as you do it, that's fine. So he took like the smudge tool and he kind of moved it around a little bit. And honestly, it looks kind of like it did before, but with some goo covering it.
So was the sphincter trying to make it sound like a real newscaster, was the sphincter intentional?
It was intentional, but it was supposed to be like the remnants of a throat, behind the teeth.
Yes.
So
yes.
It was never intended to be an anus. It was just supposed to be an esophagus beginning. And
I see. Okay.
I know that we have a scan of the original.
That'd be awesome.
So yeah, so you can have that to show your viewers.
Compare and contrast. I mean, see, now that's kind of, I mean, that's kind of crappy. I know that there's, there was, there's always such a brouhaha about stuff. Now, like looking back on it now, that's quaint. I mean, it really is. I mean, like it's funny. But then also when you were at Wizards, there were some pieces that now I think some of them, at least, like I'd say the big obvious one, Invoke Prejudice, I mean, are clearly just like how do you say, off the wall crazy, and it's just racist. And so when you were back working back then, did you notice like something like that where it was just clearly a very like unstable person putting something unsavory in the artwork? Did you wonder like, well, why is this fly, and yet my wall who is alive and needs to either eat or poop, take your pick, is not given the option to do so.
Well, I think it's possible that people interpreted invoke prejudice as if it's something that WotC supported the concept of. And I think it was a card that represented this negative thing. And like you can have a movie that has depictions of Nazis in it.
Right,
And
right.
it's not that the creators of the movie were trying to say, yay, Nazis. They're just showing them in, a role that people understand. They're like, oh yeah, those are Nazis.
I will say though, I don't know if you've been to, his name is Harold McNeil. I shouldn't say, but I'm gonna say have you gone to his website? I mean, I'll tell you this much. I went to his website because I want to talk to everybody that I can involved with the game. And I went to his website and I was like, nope, can't do that one. I have, unfortunately, unfortunately for me, I am Jewish and he's not a big fan on his website, because he's got his shrines to Hitler and his Jesus Hitler and all this, like, very healthy.
Right.
So
okay. So yeah, you have a strong.
oh yeah, no, I mean, I think that he's not, like, it's for him, it's not a matter of question. I think that with other pieces, I think that mistakes and people can just honestly be aloof to it. I think that his was very much a intentional, but I was just wondering, is that, because it seems so unfair that you were sort of like the first one to be censored, and yet it is certainly innocuous when you look at something like that. And
Well, Jesper asked me if it would be okay if he made that change to
oh,
the
I know,
image.
yeah, I'm not dogging on him, I'm not dogging on anything. I mean, I understand that, like, people are going to immediately go for anything that's like, like the way George Carlin was like, there's a time when you couldn't say fart on the radio. It was considered vulgar. And it's like, really? But if our fart's vulgar, this and that's vulgar, but somebody getting killed is a-okay. It's just, I felt that you kind of got a bad rap, and I just wanted to, in defense of Living Wall, which is, and it's, I'm just saying, it's much more wholesome than people realize, and it needs to be reconsidered and seen in its full glory. Speaking of, with the secret layers happening and a lot of the original people being sort of brought back into the fold, is there any chance that you would be able to do something like that? I think it would be cool, and I wonder, is that something that you could see yourself doing?
I can say that the only reason that I would ever do it would be in the interest of people who wanted to see it. I wouldn't do it for WotC, or I wouldn't do it for the money. It would be just as a tip of the hat to the support that I get. I'm not as interested in working for Wizards of the Coast as I am to work for a smaller company that is trying to start something. And the last time I worked for Wizards of the Coast, I was dealing with a lot of art direction that I felt like I was, standing in for somebody else and doing an image that had nothing to do with anything that I, came up with. So I'm a little spoiled in the way that, it started.
But I will say this, and because I've talked to other a couple of other artists in your position of being the original ones, the secret layers are a really, really cool format for you, especially for people who came into it with sort of the playground to do with whatever they wanted to. You're sort of given that because the cards do not, they're not associated with any particular set. They're not even necessarily thematically, they might have the same thing where it's like they're all kills, they're all ward wipes or whatever, but thematically they can all be so different. And we've had comic book styles, they've had styles where it looks like like old Japanese paintings. It's really cool the amount of diversity that's happening, and I think that it suits the kind of fans that are people like, you know, who are fans of your work want to see. I mean, nobody wants to see you be boxed in, but I think it's a really cool idea. And I mean, it's just it's cool because you kind of I mean, you gotta love that whole like full circle like appeal of it too, you know?
Okay, I guess I should probably admit that I don't know that much about the you know what it's about. I should
Oh
probably
my
look into it.
goodness. Yes, I meant and I'm not just I mean I'm saying this because I'm a fan and it's purely for selfish reasons, but it's also just it would make sense. It's just a cool thing for you know that honestly did not exist a year ago. Like it just didn't happen, and then all of a sudden it's just this thing, and it's also a great platform to bring in new artists who have never even like had a chance. Like they're not even, you know, it's their very first cards, and it's actually one of the more decent things that, as far as from an artistic standpoint, that Wizards has been up to. It's giving a voice to people who either, you know, have not been like you know, has not been kind of silent for a while or have never had a chance to speak. And I'm telling you, it would be really cool to see what you'd come up with, because I know for a fact that there is not, they just give you the card, they say here's what the old one looked like, do your version.
Huh. Yeah, I'm fully supportive of lesser known artists getting a chance to work on something big like that.
Well, and yeah, and what would be like a project that you would get involved with if anybody was an artist out there that was sort of like, how do we attract Anson to our project? Like, what kind of things are you looking for in a, say, smaller startup as far as art goes?
Um, actually, it doesn't. I don't have any rules or parameters. They just have to get a hold of Brenda and say what their project's about and see if it sounds interesting. And
Yeah.
you know, the more original, better.
And with Brenda too, I wonder, I mean, like, so when did you guys officially, I know it's like, it's personal stuff, but I gotta know, when did you guys officially become an item, when you started dating? How long ago was that?
Wow. What was that? 2014? Like 2014, but we'd known each other for like 20 years before that. Yeah, when we met, we were both convinced that we were not suited for each other.
Ooh, denial.
Yeah, yeah. I have a fear of redheads.
Yeah,
Probably.
I see. Yep, you're so fearful you marry him.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
No, she's the first person I ever proposed to, and I can't live without her. She's essential to me.
you guys are a really wicked cute couple. I got to tell you, it's like, you know, you just sometimes you see people and you're like, oh, that's really cool, and especially and I will say this to the audience, like she handles her, like she handles it, like it's impressive to see somebody who is good at, you know, doing business, like, because that's a tough balance to handle, but it's my hat's off to you. I feel like romantically I am a complete and absolute failure in comparison to you, so congratulations. I feel terrible. Good for you.
I wish I knew how to respond to that.
Oh, there's nothing you can say. You've ruined me. I'm kidding.
You,
I'm kidding.
you give out really good energy, so I find that a little hard to believe. But
Oh, you flatterer. It's filters. It's all filters. But so I wonder, do you? I mean, is the are the anointed ones ready for display, or are they?
I don't know how to.
It's God damn it! Pardon my French. Oh, I swear I shouldn't just shoot. Okay, you just hold it up and I'm gonna shut my mouth for a few seconds, so we'll just get a good shot of it. If you could just make a little noise. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see. This is me talking so that you can see the. Let's see. We've got this glare we can probably get rid of. Hold on.
colors.
Oh, you know what? Actually, if they weren't in the sleeves, it'd probably be better.
That is so cool. I mean, it's so cool to like, I mean, that's crazy. How crazy is that like that is now part of a game that is, for better or worse, I mean, it is, and I think for better, uh it's a historical like piece that people are going to like have strong feelings for no matter who they are.
When I recovered them, the first thing I did was tear them out of the frames that they were in, so that I could verify that they were real. That's the back. It's on Crescent illustration board. The surface is actually, the top layer of the illustration board has been torn off, and then I did the piece on that kind of fuzzy, what do you call it, like suede sort of texture that you have after you do something crazy like that. So I think that was because I didn't have a whole lot of money to go get some new illustration board. I don't know how much closer I can get with this so you can see any details.
It's just cool to see it. It's just the actual just experience of seeing it sort of held up. It's like it's a real thing. It's a physical thing, and I thank you so much for taking the time to bring it out to show off. I greatly appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. I'm happy to share it. This is Animate Dead. The back, more illustration board. It's mostly acrylic, a little bit of ink, water-based ink, some colored pencil here and there.
That's so cool. It's so hard not. I had to like put my fist to my mouth. It's like, because the camera turns off. I heard,
Right.
and I heard through the grapevine that there was an unsolicited offer made for Llanowar Elves, which is not currently not for sale, right?
Right.
I heard that it was $120, and not $120, but $120K that somebody has made an offer for. What is? I mean, that has to be like awesome and mind blowing to have that number thrown out, and you're like, wow, that puts you in a percentage of artists that are, there are very few. It's a rarefied group.
Yeah, I'd rather be able to say that than to actually lose the piece again.
No, I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, no, I can't imagine it. As a matter of fact, a couple of people I talked to that are very much involved in the MTG, art community were like, oh, I hope he's not selling it. They don't want you to either. I don't think that you should. I mean, you probably have such an emotional, like now it's like, it really is. If you lost it again, that would almost be like, that would suck.
It's really cool to be able to look at them again, because when you look at an old piece, you can sort of drop back into your state of mind when you were working on it, and you can it's interesting. It's like putting on an old piece of clothing you haven't worn for a long time.
Because it holds a physical space. And so it absorbs like the molecules. And I mean, if you want to get like, kind of hippy dippy about it, which I'm open to, but like the sound frequencies that were around when it was being made, I mean, all these things, you almost like, it's very much like when you get that sense, you smell something and it just like takes you back hardcore.
Right. I remember when I was going to school at Cornish, when I was in class during a lecture, I'd be doodling on my Levi's with a pen, and I wasn't taking notes, but I was drawing just random things while I was listening. And if I wore those same jeans to take a test, I would actually be able to look at those images and be able to remember what was being said in the lecture.
Okay, so that's the kind of
there's all
learner you
kinds of
are.
tie-ins. What's that?
That's you're a visual learner, like through and through.
Right.
That's
True.
I have synesthesia, where
You do?
yeah, I did not realize until college that seeing music was not something that everybody could do. Because I was at a party and I people were talking and I said, "Can everybody shut up? I'm trying to watch the song." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, watching the song. They're
That's
like,
funny. The closest I get to that is I listen to incense.
"That's synesthesia. If you can hear a smell, that actually counts." It's anytime where two conflicting senses can intertwine.
Overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you
Yeah.
can
So,
taste a number or something like that.
okay. So when I think about playing some incense, I guess that's synesthesia.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing. It's common. It's common in artistic people. I don't see a lot of like CEOs having it. Not that there's anything wrong with it. They have different kind of abilities. Um, the the cool thing too, and I won't keep you for much longer, and I do appreciate your time. But one of the things that I've
Absolutely.
seen you really like openly embrace is the replications and the card alters that you do.
When you say replications,
Well, when I say like you do variations of a theme, like you have done
yeah.
like different versions of the Sengir Vampire, ones that I mean, if I actually find myself liking some of the ones you've done since then. Like I believe the one that I'm talking about it was a private commission that was made. I love it. It's definitely, it shows that if you had been given like more time and a little more time to focus and to take your time with it, that you were able to take it to another level. And
That's great to hear, because if I'm having fun with what I'm working on, that tends to be something that people appreciate more. Like I'm asked often to do a replica of the art that's on the card, but a reduction of that art on the back of the card is difficult, and to me it's nowhere near as interesting as coming up with a new take on it or a new view, composition.
yeah, like in one of the things I saw that you did, which is, I know again I'm fixated on it just because I think it's a really cool idea, but it was actually a scene where the Sengir Vampire was attacking the pre-transformed Llanowar Elf.
Oh, was it a card box?
I'm not sure if it was a card box. It's hard to tell because it's on Instagram, so everything's sort of square. But it was just, I think it was something it looks like something that was particularly small that you
Yeah,
did. And
it was a card box.
okay.
The entire thing sort of had different views on that theme. It was I think we also have there's a video of the person who commissioned it. There's a video of him opening it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, so did you bring the project, like when somebody says I'd be interested in having that done, is that would they come to you with, or is it a combo of you being inspired by them, or how does that work?
Okay, that one in particular was whether they had keyed into the relationship between the Llanowar Elves and the Sengir Vampire or not. What they wanted was something that included the Sengir Vampire and Llanowar Elves. So I saw that as a good opportunity to hint at the background.
I see. So you only unlocked that door because somebody was basically, they sort of stumbled upon the actual reality of your inspiration, so you felt like you could give that away.
Yeah, that was a fun opportunity to do something like that.
Um, what would be uh something that like it would be just a flat out no for you to do, like as far as like if somebody were to ask you to do something like where it involves like doing variations of theme, what would be just something where you'd be like, I'm not into that?
Okay, like I wouldn't do a replica of a piece that I've already done for a number of reasons. I mean, these early illustrations, you know, for Magic, they're a long time ago, and if I were to, you know, reapproach that concept, it wouldn't turn out that way. And I would never want to make something that could confuse anybody into believing that what they were looking at was the original.
Right.
Because, I mean, down, you know, in the future, if somebody had possession of that, you know, if they were able to sell that to somebody, telling them that it was the original, that
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be quite lame.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
would be, and I could see you being really sensitive to that, especially having had with the history of what happened. That is something that you would be, I would imagine, even more sensitive to if you hadn't had that happen.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that we can have more influence over that are good, and sort of get away from things that help people be bad. Like
What?
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm you're gone.
I was just thinking of the like like I support this whole idea of altar
Hmm.
artists, and you know, I do enough of it myself, and uh, you know, it's not always on my cards that I do some of the work, but I like to get the approval of anybody else who might be affected by that, like the artist of a different card. You know, like I don't have to ask for Mark Tadin's permission for anything because
Yeah, you
we
guys
have,
are kind of close, aren't you?
yeah. But like every once in a while, you know, you'll see where somebody has extended the borders of a card off of the original printed illustration, and in doing so, they wipe out the artist's name, and then by signing their own name. And to me, I'd rather people didn't do that. So I will sort of promote the idea of uh, giving credit where credit is due, and taking credit where you deserve to take credit for it. And uh, there's some difficulty in that whole thing because of, you know, maybe somebody wasn't, maybe they didn't grow up in an environment where it made any difference to make sure you don't take credit for somebody else's work.
Yeah,
But
that's
it could be a really good thing for artists to promote the idea of, you know, looking out for your brother artist or your sister artist. And you know, I think I used to have a better way of saying all this that is lost to me at the moment. But
I get what you're saying. It's no, I get it entirely. It's not a difficult notion to grasp. It's something that I think that even though you do declare yourself to be isolated from the world, you still seem to have that uh instinct for community, and that's one thing that I've seen in all of your um everybody I've talked to that artists, that they're very strong with that, and I think it's very admirable.
that's cool. Yeah, it's strange. There's a big difference between talking about something that you kind of have a feeling about, and something that, like when you're talking about it, you can hear yourself speaking in a way that is like very like experienced, and like you know what you're saying.
Hmm.
And when I'm talking about the rights of other people, you know, I tend to feel really righteous about that. And
Well,
I like
yeah,
to,
that makes sense. You had your rights sort of, I mean, not sort of, like very much violated, and so you are going to be it may you if you weren't an advocate, that would be worrisome.
that'd be weird, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. It would be a bad sign. It would be like, okay, so either you would be a complete pushover, or somebody who's like, well, I'm just going to do it to the next person and then everything's fine.
Well, I am kind of a pushover, but that's why I have Brenda.
Yeah, she's I like you. I mean, look, I admire it. You can always tell like when somebody has like I'm very nice to meet you, but don't fuck with me, like kind of vibe going on. And
So
she's
it's great.
pardon me?
When we get letters from people, every once in a while, it'll be Anson and Brenda. And I'll be like, Brenda, look, somebody put my name before yours.
um, what is the weirdest interaction that you ever had happen with a fan in your careers? It's like sort of the meet and greets. What's something that stands out as okay, that was strange?
Other than people sending me pictures of their tongues.
Really? Oh my! What? Did they just want pictures? They just sent pictures of their tongues, like a Polaroid of their tongue?
Like not a Polaroid, but a little
That's
4
interesting.
by 5 or
Are
whatever.
they male or female? I know it's not important, but I'm just kind of curious. What's the ratio of? Because it's like
maybe only females are bold enough.
I don't think anybody would want to see my tongue. I don't.
I don't think anybody wants to see my tongue either. That's why I don't. Really
I did.
Show.
I wanted to see it because when I flash up the actual painting that Mark did, I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is like, this is true to life, and I mean that was cool.
Oh yeah, I met Gene Simmons. That was fun. Yeah.
Gene Simmons. Like, see, honestly, I think it is. You're in that like that category. You guys are just like, it's like, wow, like it just. What's that?
Brenda was saying that's why she married me, but I'm sure she's kidding.
I was like, I didn't want to make a joke, but good, yeah. Ring a bell.
What kind of channel is this?
Oh, it's
Am I overdressed?
That's right. Well, now we're getting into the red light special part of it, where and how what would be the best way for somebody to just like to get in contact with you? Just contact Brenda through the site if they wanted an altar or something like that.
Yeah, Brenda brings everything to my attention, but it's filtered through her just because I can't handle it. The communication thing. Mm-hmm. But what is the best way for somebody to email?
Or through the website, instant message.
Okay, so Brenda at AnsonMaddocks.com.
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
Or through AnsonMaddocks.com using the instant message. Is that right? Yeah, instant message feature.
Yes, that's wow. You do just you keep to yourself. You're very much you're like, is it called an instant message? I believe an electronic mail.
I think that's what the kids are calling it these days.
Yeah, right. I believe it's an electronic mail. It is what they say. It's the newest thing. It's like a fax except quicker. No, it's like I was born in 1981. So I am literally I am the digital or analog to digital. Like when I started out, there were record players and phones on the wall. By the time I graduated high school, it was AOL and the internet, and it's weird. I went to my first year of school at college. It was recommended that you have a computer, but not necessary. By the time I left, it was not a question. So yeah, I'm kind of get to be the in between space. Is there anything else that you are working on right now that you would like to talk about before I let you go?
So I don't know how available these are going to be. These are.
Oh, whoa. Is that the medicine mannequin?
Yeah. So they're like hand mannequins and these old antique porcelain baby heads that I have a lot of materials that I've collected over the years, and I tried to get rid of them by incorporating them in found object sculptures. And
that was like a
So-
jester. That was like sort of like a kind of like, or yeah, like a court jester looking.
yeah, that's actually in the background, the gestures, but this one was kind of a Christmas-ish theme. There's so many of them.
Oh, I have to ask, is there going to be a Sengir Vampire or a Llanowar Elf?
Well, probably not by name, because there's
Oh yes,
there's-
I got you. It's
yeah,
a
but,
Sengir Nosferatu and a Llanowar nymph.
Lawnmower Elf.
Yeah, Llanowar Elf. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I don't think that's copywritten, but it's used quite a bit, I think.
Lawnmower Elf. It would be cool to see the Metis Mannequins versions of that. I mean, like you could actually do like, I mean, I know it's, again, I don't want to like say like to revisit, but like that would just be cool looking to see, because those are really ornate. I mean, they're like sort of like Christmas tree ornaments from hell.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a nice break from working on these tiny little paintings to kind of relax a bit and start working larger and just throwing stuff together and seeing what sticks. Like they're kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
But
Shit.
I don't
Sorry.
don't show these as if they are something that we have any idea how we're going to make them available yet. But if we get inquiries or whatever, maybe we can figure out a way to do it.
I
But
feel like
until
go on. Sorry.
other than that, mostly what I'm doing is responding to requests for paintings on the back of artist proofs and other just small things like that. It's an interesting way to stay in practice, is to have these little, because illustration is all about sort of meeting somebody else's expectations, but then keeping it, enough of a surprise to make it even more interesting than what they anticipated.
Yeah,
And,
that's really cool.
yeah. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just I'm in a little bit of a fanboy mode right now, so you have to forgive me. Fan man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a vampire.
I'm a man.
I'm a man. That's what I am. Base.
Whatever you choose.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely. Well, I can tell you the chest hair and the constant missing of the toilet is pretty much declared that I am a man. It's
right there. That's a great concept.
yeah, no, I mean, but yet I don't give up on it. I'm like, I will pee in the dark because I don't want to, and it will work this time. And it never does.
Wait, do we have Pit Trap?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I could show you something really quick. That
Okay.
might be
Yeah.
interesting. There's a card I did for Ice Age called Pit Trap.
Yes.
And something that nobody's seen before is that the hand that is visible in the piece is actually cut out and pasted to the illustration board to cover the original hand, which did not turn out the way I wanted it to. And just in case Brenda isn't able to find it right away, it's okay. But she doesn't know I'm showing it.
Uh-oh.
But she's out of the room right now, so she can't stop me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's especially, but you guys have been. I mean, you've been really more than helpful. It's awesome that you were so generous with showing this stuff, and it means a lot because it's cool. I mean, it's an exclusive, and it makes me. I mean, I appreciate you helping me out because it does.
Where's the arm? So I have the original here, but
It's in the arm.
but
There's
the,
the arm, sir.
are you sure that's the original arm? I think maybe I just I don't think. Oh wait, here I am tearing it off the board. I
Why?
probably shouldn't do that.
No. Oh God, no. What are you doing? Are you
Okay.
destroying something on camera?
No.
Are you about to deface your own, like, are you
I would
defacing
be a
yourself?
lot more excited if that were the case. But
Oh my gosh.
so
Did you ever
no.
do that? Did you ever destroy an original out of like a moment of anger or frustration?
Oh yeah, but none that I have a record of.
I was interviewed Steve Bellinen, and he told me the story about how he destroyed Maelstrom Nexus, and I was like, oof. It was just, I was like, oh God.
It can give you a sense of control when you feel like you're losing it.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just as somebody who was like, oh gosh, yeah, I understand. I mean, you have a relationship with it like no other, but I would have adopted if I could have done. I would have taken the colicky baby.
Wait, what was that?
I said I would have taken that colicky baby and raised it my own. It could cry. It could cry.
Nice.
But yeah. So I need to shut my mouth now for it, or?
Oh, I mean, Brenda's handing me stuff left and right,
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't know what would be particularly interesting, or I don't know what would show up better as I hold it up than it would if you just looked up the card. Vampiric Spirit and Raised Dead.
It is pretty cool to see the live ones. That's awesome.
Okay. So
it's really cool.
So what do you need for a B-roll?
B-roll? Well,
did I use the term right?
Yeah, no, yeah, for before we do that, I should probably technically say, like, sign off to you, because people will just be like, he didn't say goodbye. Yeah, be like, well, we got into a terrible fight, we're no longer talking. But I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
It was fun. It was good talking to you.
Full disclosure, I know I geeked out a little during that interview, but like the old saying goes, Tek Drenov Malika Dantari. God, Ancient Vampire has the best expressions. It's a shame more colleges don't teach it. Oh, just got a text. Okay, one sec. It's my cameraman. He says, digression alert. Oh, excuse me for wanting to inject a little culture in our lives. If I'm digressing so much, maybe you should just cut off my mic and do it yourself, because I don't give a shit. Until next time, I got a scoop.